somebody doesn't like Stolas. What? What are you talking about? How can you not like this precious bird boy? Where does he have any yeah, here's a picture of him. How could you not like this beautiful man? Okay. So what this is I'm a simp for this owl. I simp for this character, and so you're going to have to suffer through me just blindly defending this fictional character from this person who doesn't like him. This person doesn't like my boy. And that's not acceptable to me. So, let's see why he doesn't like him.
Believe it or not, two of the most popular and beloved characters in the
Okay, it's a woman's voice. I assume this person identifies as female, but because it's kind of a I don't know, low woman's voice, maybe there's a sort of androgynous element here that might be bringing into question my assumption about their gender, but I'm assuming that this is a woman.
Has-been/Helliverse happen to be some of my least favorite characters in the series, and one of those characters is Stolas. So here in this
dare you? How dare you?
Video, I'm going to be explaining why I personally don't like him. But before we get into it, I have a few disclaimers. 1. This post will contain spoilers for every episode of Season 1 of Hell of a Boss.
That's fine, we
so
don't care about spoilers here.
I recommend skipping this video for now as to avoid any spoilers. 2. I know people say, well, Blitz messed up in the relationship too. I'm aware of that, but this post is not about Blitz, it's about Stolas. If this was...
Does she not like Blitz either?
A video about all the mistakes Stolas and Blitz have made, I would have titled it as such. But this video is specifically focused on Stolas. Trust.
Maybe she just doesn't like anyone. Maybe she's just like, all of these characters suck. I hate all of them. She's like the Dirty Harry of Vivzy-Pop critics. Yes, he recognizes his name because people have recommended him that book in comments when he denied liberalism and fascism are two faces of capitalism. Are you talking... Oh, Carl too says Parenti wrote that book with black shirts and reds. Okay, he's a Marxist-Leninist. So that's where I recognize the name, is that Carl was talking to me about that book, Black Shirts and Reds. I don't know if I guess you're talking about me. Are you talking about me being recommended in the comments when I denied liberalism, fascism are two faces of capitalism? Because I don't remember that. And I don't know why I would be involved in that kind of argument. But okay. So now we're going back to Black Shirt Socialists. A lot of comments have been left since the last time I looked. I gotta read all of these by Black Shirt Socialist. My context is in a multicultural community. Individuals have no connection with land or blood because these things have become mixed. So a new mythology other than religion is needed. Other than religion because of that? No, I don't think so. Like, are you saying that we need religion and a new mythology? Or are you saying that this multiculturalism has made religion obsolete, traditionally religion obsolete? Because I disagree with that. I think it's actually just science that has made traditional religion obsolete. Science and uh, industrialism. Due to its exclusive nature, nationalism appears as the best choice to unite this multicultural community. The borders claimed / occupied by this free communal society have their own right not to accept outsiders through their own consensus. I don't think there exists a society that's just purely consenting and has no coercion. I think there's always going to be coercion in society, and the best we can do is use it to our advantage. Yeah, someone said that, and you called it an infantile Marxist analysis or something like that. Yeah, I was probably right about that. Because when people just want to reduce it all down to just being about capitalism, then yeah, there's a lot more to it than that.
Trust me, Blitz may be my favorite character in Hell of a Boss, but I'm willing to admit he's made several mistakes.
Okay, no, so she's a Blitzo stan. That's what's going on. Blitzo is her favorite character, and so she's on his side. Okay. I see. Well, I like both Blitzo and Stolas. And so I'm not out here, I prefer Stolas. I'm a Stolas fan more than anything, but I'm not out here making videos like why I don't like Blitz. I'm not out here attacking the imp just because I'm a simp.
But again, this video is not about that. Though I am planning on making a video covering Blitz and his mistakes in the future. 3. This video is only part 1. I will only be discussing Stolas' behavior in Season 1. I will be referencing minor things from Season 2, but I will not be going in depth.
Oh god, it's a two-parter. Okay, well then that kind of limits what we're allowed to talk about, doesn't it? To some degree.
I would have just put Season 1 and 2 of Stolas' character into one video, but I don't want it to be too long, and I'm also
Man, how much detail is she going to go into this? This is 22 minutes just about Stolas' behavior in Season 1. Okay.
New to editing, so I'm trying to start small.
This is going to be brutal.
I'm also very lazy, and I need more time to finish the rest. But holy shit, man, I'm recording this on the day of the new episode, and Stolas he just made me dislike him even more. So...
Is this full moon that she's talking about? This is a month ago. June 24th. So, no, this is probably... When did Apology Tour come out? I don't know if it was before this or after this.
So be prepared for my rant on Season 2 Stolas in the future. And finally, 4. I didn't make this video to bash people who like Stolas or attempt to change your view on him. These are all my opinions, so don't get mad at me just because I think...
No, you just made this video to attack my precious bird boy. That's all you did. You just made this video to stab my fucking precious bird boy in the heart. Because you don't like him. Because you're a Blitzo stan. I see what you're doing. Superstructures can take different forms, but always connected to the base. It's not R. I think you got cut off while writing that, because R ain't a word, buddy. Really can't stand videos with commentary over random gameplay, big leafy energy. I know, right? I think I brought that up in a video a long time ago, like a rap roundup. Just like, stop doing the gameplay thing. I don't like it. It's people think it adds like a visual element that makes the video more interesting to look at. It's just distracting. It's just, why am I looking at this? This has nothing to do with the topic. Just have like a blank screen with a logo on it or something, or just have like a picture of you making an angry face, or anything that is actually something I can connect with. Like, I don't even know what this game is, some random looking kid game. I don't know. It's not by chance that there isn't feudal fascism. It's a particular superstructure of capitalism. Um, well, okay, who cares? Like, what does that have to do with anything? I mean, like, who even brought up feudalism? What does feudalism even have to do with this?
Differently than you. Sorry for the very long intro, but with all that aside, let me tell you why I don't like Stolas.
Love or
Stolas
lust?
makes the same mistakes, over and over again. He claims to love Blitz, but there is only one time in Season 1 where Stolas is genuine with his feelings towards Blitz. At Ozzy's. I'll circle back to this later. Every other time, Stolas only talks about having sex with Blitz, but then he wants to act all surprised when Blitz starts to think that sex is all Stolas wants him for. The fandom always says that Stolas loves...
Yeah, but he didn't then turn that around on Blitz until the full moon. So this is the problem with this criticism, is when Ozzy's happened and Blitz told Stolas, don't act like what we have is anything more than you wanting me to fuck you. Stolas didn't be like, oh, me? How could you ever think such a thing of me? No, he was like, oh, really? That's how he thinks of me. That's what I've been communicating this whole time. Oh, and it changed his whole view of their relationship, and it put him in a kind of a depression, because he was already depressed, but it made him drink himself to sleep because he realized how horribly wrong he was about their relationship. And that's why in the first episode of season 2, there's that line in that song he sings, which is a great song because it takes his motif in the soundtrack of season 1 and puts lyrics to it. But he says, between you and I, just a comfortable lie. He had this sort of view of their relationship that wasn't true, and he's realizing it on that night.
Loves Blitz, but it really doesn't come off that way. I'm not saying he doesn't, but to put things nicely, he's not good at showing it. Most of his compliments towards Blitz are about his body and how good he is in bed. That's shallow as hell. Forgive me for believing that's...
Yeah, and unless you have season 2, see, I have to talk about season 2 because it explains all of this. Season 2 explains that when he met up with Blitz as an adult for the first time, the first thing that Blitz decides to do is to just start talking really dirty and get really forward, really sexual immediately. And so he thinks oh, okay, if I want his attention, this is what I have to do to get his attention. Meanwhile, Blitz isn't actually like that. But Blitz goes along with it because he thinks that's what Stolas wants him to do, because he doesn't realize that Stolas has feelings for him going back to childhood. So that's where the misunderstanding comes in, and I don't think that's entirely Stolas' fault. Feudalism is just an example of a different mode of production. Fascism is born off and exists to sustain the existence of capitalism. It is rooted in it to the core. It happens, fascism happens to align itself with capitalism, but I would disagree with the premise that it is rooted in capitalism to the core. Capitalist philosophy is the basis of fascist philosophy. I don't think so. I think that there's an alliance between fascism and capitalism. I don't think it's that fascism is just capitalism fully realized. My point was that it isn't by chance that there isn't fascism in slave societies or feudal societies. It's capitalist. Well, this is not a point that means anything, because the reason that there isn't fascism in feudal societies is because there's no conditions by which fascism evolves socially speaking. Fascism evolved in a very specific historical context with very specific conditions. Like, I mean, it's just it's kind of a silly thing to say as an argument for why fascism is like the other side of the capitalist coin with liberalism. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just, yeah, like the certain factors of history, industrialization, the existence of a left-wing movement and syndicalism and war, and like all these different things came together to create fascism. And so, like, yeah, of course, when you try to remove it from that historical context, it's meaningless. But I think that's where the point ends. I think trying to extrapolate that into this point that, you know, capitalism is rooted in the core of fascism. I just don't think that there's a lot to that. I don't think it means much.
Stolas only wants to fuck. Again, I'm not saying that's all he wants, but that's what he makes it seem like. You really can't blame Blitz for believing Stolas just wants him for sex. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about season 2, but
you can't blame him, and that's why Stolas doesn't blame him. This video, why I don't like Stolas, yeah, Stolas would agree with you here, at least in season 1, at least up to that point. Now things change when it gets to full moon, and that's where I think Stolas starts to actually go from just making a lot of mistakes to actually making some really severe fundamental mistakes. But I still don't think that he's the one who's... I still don't think that he was the only one at fault in that interaction. I think a huge part of the blame goes to Blitz for ruining that.
But this clip really pissed me off today, and I want to show it to rant about it because it connects to what I'm saying.
Okay. Do you feel any kind of remorse for what you do? Have you ever even apologized once in your life?
Oh, everyone but me is getting your cheap apologies tonight.
So, Stolas doesn't want to take accountability and acknowledge the fact that he fucked up as well, but he demands Blitz for an apology.
But, no, he was taking accountability in the stuff that you're talking about in season 1. He took full accountability for that. It's just that even after he made himself clear to Blitz on the full moon how he really feels, and Blitz still just not understanding it, or choosing not to understand it, or being in denial, or whatever Blitz was doing, you know, that he was upset about, because of course he would be, because he was very... He actually changed his communication. He became very clear about how he felt about Blitz. And this goes even before full moon, when he was trying to text Blitz in the hospital, and he was before he was hospitalized, you see all the texts that they sent to each other after Ozzy's and before the hospitalization. You can see that he was trying to change the nature of the relationship, communicate things to Blitz other than just being horny, and Blitz just wasn't responding. And so, like, how can you actually have communication with someone who just doesn't want to communicate with you because his own insecurity makes him like not want to let other people into his life? Like, at that point, how is it his fault?
Despite never apologizing to Blitz. And apparently, Stolas thinks that he doesn't give off signs that he sees Blitz as lesser than him or only wants Blitz for sex. Because I like being right, I'm going to take a walk through season 1 and go over every time Stolas has done this.
Yeah, and you're going to show all the clips of him being like, my grimoire is actually important. It's not meant to be lent out to itty-bitty imps. You're going to show that stuff and be like, oh yeah, all this is demeaning. And it is kind of demeaning, but it's not intentionally demeaning. And when Stolas realizes that that's how it's coming across, he changes his behavior. And you'll notice in season 2, he doesn't do that anymore.
Of course, we all remember Stolas' long monologue about how much he wants to have sex with Blitz. Seems the only time Stolas ever calls/initiates conversations with Blitz is when he wants to have sex with him. And I know the pilot technically isn't canon, but this plays very well into Stolas' character, as a very similar scene plays out in the first episode.
You know what happens when
I get lonely, Blitzy.
God fucking damn it.
When I'm lonely, I become hungry. And when I become hungry, I want to choke on that red
fat
of yours.
Toss your salad and
all of
lick all your holes.
Before taking out your and with...
The pilot had some good moments. It's overall a total mess, but it had
more
some...
teeth until you're screaming
It had some funny
like a
moments.
fucking baby.
I don't even know if I noticed that he has those
And then you know that bridge over the
Moxie
freeway?
Millie figurines on his desk.
Shit off it.
Blitz is obviously very uncomfortable when Stolas goes on this long monologue. He even breaks his phone with a very uncomfortable expression
Yeah, but
on his face.
this isn't canon, dude. This is the pilot. So don't take anything in the pilot as canon. This is mistake number 1.
Yet this is played off as something that's supposed to be funny. Not to be that guy, but imagine if Blitz was a girl and Stolas was still a man. There would be outrage. People would say, wow, Stolas is just like every shot.
Yeah, there would be a lot more outrage, but functionally, like, nothing would change. Like, it's not like Blitz being a girl would be like, oh, now I see how fucked up this really is. I mean, it's played for laughs because it's funny as hell, and it doesn't matter what gender he is, it's still gonna be funny as hell. But, like, you know, obviously, if he's sexually harassing Blitz in this scenario, which he is in this non-canon scenario, then yeah, like, that's not right. And you could criticize Stolas for that if this were canon, but it's not, so who even cares?
Shallow man who only cares about sex and women's bodies. But since they're both men, of course you're going to have people infantilizing them and sexualizing them and ignoring the obvious red flags in their quote-unquote relationship. And before anyone calls me homophobic for saying this, I'm a man who's part of the LGBTQ community myself, and I have
So this person identifies as a man? See, I knew, right from the moment this person started talking, I knew that I wasn't safe. I knew that I was going to misgender them no matter what I did. But, I'll probably still end up, I don't know what to do at this point. I'll probably still end up using female pronouns just because that's how this person sounds to me. Sounds female. But I guess I'll try to switch over to male pronouns, because who knows, it could just be a biological male with like a really feminine voice. Those exist too.
experienced this infantilization and sexualization firsthand.
Murder Family.
In this episode,
now we're finally getting to the actual episodes that matter to the plot, because they're not just some non-canon pilot fodder. I don't know why he even went into that. Like, surely he knows that the pilot isn't canon. So
Stolas
nothing
has another
matters.
comedic monologue. Yippee.
I was thinking, what if we worked out some kind of exchange? Favors for favors. Doesn't that sound enticing?
You gotta stop using your fancy-ass rich people talk, okay? I'm trying to concentrate on not getting fucked in my A!
Then let me keep it simple.
I love the way he says "fucked in my A." Like, he's willing to say the F word, but when it comes to ass, he shortens that to A. I like that. I guess I like that because, you know, I always liked the word a-hole, because I don't like the word asshole, but I like a-hole. It sounds funnier to me.
Once a month, on the full moon, you return the book to me, followed by a night of
Passionate fornication. Yes, industrialization and a bourgeois class are preconditions for fascism, and fascism was an instrument to save it in moments of crisis and serious threat from the left. Yeah, I mean, sure. But it was also a bunch of other stuff besides that. I think the left oversimplifies that and makes that the whole point of fascism, where it was about a lot more than just that.
Passionate fornication. And you get to keep it all the rest of the time, hmm? Sound fair, my little imp?
Fine, whatever.
Oh, Blitz, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to feel your slimy inside of my...
This is the second time Stolas has called Blitz to ask him about sex.
It's the first time.
Blitz about exchanging favors for favors. Ew. Stolas says Blitz can continue using his grimoire to access the living world if they can have sex once a month. First of all, favors for favors. Ew. Stolas says Blitz can continue using his grimoire to access the living world if they can have sex once a month. First of all, again, forgive me for believing that Stolas only wants to have sex when he calls Blitz to talk about it. And also, if you agree to do something for someone, don't come back later and be like, well, since I'm doing this for you, you should do this for me. That's gross and entitled.
That's not what happened. Blitz just stole his book. Blitz just straight up committed theft. Blitz was just like, oh, this book that's really important for your job, I'm just going to take that. I'm just going to make that mine. He didn't ask for permission. He just stole it from him. So, like, this is actually him being nice to Blitz. This is actually him being like, okay, I can see that you want this book. This is important for you. Why don't you give me something in return? Like this is not an accurate characterization of what happened. It's not like he gave Blitz this book and then suddenly was like, oh, now I have some stipulations. And by the way, this whole thing was just him wanting to play a game with Blitz because he thought that this would be fun, that it could be like a little thing where like they have a reason to see each other every month. He wasn't thinking of this from like the way it looks from Blitz's perspective. He had a very kind of romantic view of the situation that didn't actually line up with how other people were feeling, because he's not really great at understanding how other people feel. That's one of his big weak points, or thinking about how this would look to someone else.
Really cared about someone, wouldn't you want to do something nice for them without expecting anything in return? If you only do something nice for someone because you expect something back, you're not a very nice person.
Yeah, but the nice thing that he was doing was not killing Blitz for stealing his very valuable property. If this were any other royal Goetia demon, Blitz would be dead that day. So, because Blitz committed a crime, he stole from him.
Holy crap, where do I even begin? Stolas is a fucking mess in this episode. Let me just say, I'm not saying Stolas is a bad father, because he clearly does care about Octavia, but he's not a very good father either. He seems decent at first, because he notices Octavia is upset, and he offers to take her to Lululand to cheer her up. Okay, that's a nice thing.
And that was just a repeat of what his dad did for him when he was crying over being betrothed. He was like, why don't we go to the circus? You always liked the circus, haven't you? The exact same thing that Stolas does for Octavia. It's funny how it's actually very clever how they were able to kind of bring that back and make it like, oh, he learned this from his dad, this bad parenting. Because yeah, that was really boneheaded Stolas's part, thinking that that would be the right move in that situation.
Right? But then, of course, he goes and ruins it. He says that they need security, which, okay, makes sense. But then, before he calls Blitz...
And then he makes it worse by turning the father-daughter bonding trip into just an excuse for him to hang out with with Blitz. Very, very dumb. Stolas is not always the smartest person in the room. Sometimes he's very, very stupid. But he always, I think, recognizes his mistakes eventually. And he does try to make amends for them, which is what happens at the end of the episode. So I don't think you can really hate Stolas for this episode, because he figures out what he was doing wrong and he changes by the end of it, which is what characters are supposed to do. I mean, what, do you just expect him to be perfect all the time?
He says...
Now, I'm calling the only man who can
fuck me.
What? Who can protect me? Us.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You had an affair with someone, which is why your wife is screaming at you, which is why your daughter is so depressed, and that's the first thing you say. And then it gets even worse when Blitz...
No, his wife would have been screaming at him anyway, because she's a total bitch. Like, I don't think you can blame Stolas for his wife. She would have found some other reason to scream at him. Now, clearly, Octavia has some memory of them having a more functional family dynamic, but that's because she wasn't aware of just how deep the misery ran between them. By the way, this outfit, like, look at what's going on right here. Like, he's not covering anything right here.
Answers the phone, Stolas says...
What?
Why, hello, my big-dicked Blitzy.
We have another in the ongoing talk about fascism. Fascism was a lot more because simply let's keep capitalism going alone isn't going to stick with the masses. But rhetoric, aesthetics, and mysticism aside, what do you think fascists actually wanted? Well, I go into great detail about it in my video, Why I Admire Fascism. I go into great detail about kind of the philosophy behind fascism, and they also had a lot of economic vision. Now, depending on who specifically you're talking about, they had different ideas. But really, I mean, the fascism I know most about is not even Italian fascism. It's British fascism. It's Mosley's fascism, which was not about trying to rescue capitalism from its dissolution in an impending revolution. You can definitely say that about Italy, and I would not criticize you for that. But there's, like I said, there's a lot more to fascism than just that. And I think if you'd take some interest in it, you'd see, like with Mosley's whole kind of motivation for getting into fascism was due to his economic vision for the British Empire. And there's reasons why fascism was tied into that for him. But it was not just about capitalism. It was actually a socialist vision in some sense. Isn't his wife just plain diabolical though? Yeah, she is. So it's like, ooh, he had an affair. I see people bring this up all the time, like, ooh, Stolas, bad boy, had an affair. It's like, what else was he supposed to do? Just be sexlessly married to this crazy bitch for the rest of his life? Like, that's sooner or later the bird's gotta fly the coop, you know?
What the fuck?
Dad!
Language, everyone.
Again, in front of his daughter. Why? Like, yeah, no shit, Blitz thinks you only want him for sex, when that's literally all you talk about, and you take every opportunity to bring it up. And this time, Stolas didn't even call Blitz to ask about sex. He asked if Blitz would be a security, but he always finds a way to bring it up. And then, when they get to Lululand, Stolas takes every possible opportunity to flirt with Blitz and compliment him on a trip that...
He didn't need the security. That was the big joke at the end of the episode. That's one of the cleverest parts of that episode, is that in the end you see Stolas turn his neck around, his owl neck, and just turn this little I guess it's an imp. They don't look like the big imps that work for IMP. They're like tiny, malnourished imps. But he turns this little imp to stone just by looking at him, which is, of course, means that he didn't need bodyguards this whole time. He could have dealt with them easily. But he just wanted bodyguards so that he could have Blitz around, which is hilarious.
Again, was meant to cheer up his daughter. He barely pays any attention to her at all and constantly flirts with Blitz, despite her being the one who needs him the most right now.
You know, it's quite thrilling to see you on the job, Blitzy.
Save it, bitch, I'm working.
You both need to get a room.
Hey, I'm not a day hooker. Oh, how delightful.
And then she looks over, and he's like, what? I just said I'm not one, you prude.
Oh, my, what good aim you have, Blitzy.
Ugh, I can't do this anymore!
Stolas claimed to only invite Blitz for quote-unquote security reasons, but do you really expect me to believe that when he takes every possible opportunity to touch?
My guy, the episode explicitly communicated that you're right at the end. Like, this is not some like thing you're reading into it. This is explicit. Like, that was the whole joke, was that he did not need security.
And flirt with Blitz. Also, when Stolas was in danger later in the episode, and Moxie and Millie save him, Stolas says,
Oh, that's better. Where is Blitzy? He's my knight in shining armor, not you littler ones.
no thank you for saving my life, no nothing, anything at all, really. He's only...
Because they didn't save his life, because he wasn't gonna die, because this tiny little doofus can't kill Stolas. Not unless he has Stryker's magical angelic rope and angelic steel weapons.
thinking about Blitz. If he really only wanted security, Stolas would be grateful to Moxie and Millie for saving him. But he wasn't. He only wanted to be saved by Blitz. Also, Stolas is incredibly powerful.
Exactly. How is any of this new information?
Is more than capable of defending himself. He literally turns...
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, like, this is part of the episode is aware of this. The episode is making a joke out of this. And the way this is resolved is that he has a resolution with Octavia, where he basically apologizes to Octavia, and he's like, yeah, I've been stupid today. I've been letting my dick guide all of my decisions today. You're probably right. I should stop that. I should stop being annoying. I should stop being an idiot. Let's do what you want to do. How about that? You tell me what you want to do. And she's like, oh, can we go to Stylish Occult? They have weird taxidermy there. So, like, this does get addressed in the episode, and Stolas does learn his lesson by the end of it. So I don't know why he's complaining so much about this.
someone into stone a few minutes after this scene. So I'm not really sure why he would need security in the first place. Maybe just for extra protection so no one could catch him off guard, I suppose. But
wow. No, the media literacy. Come on. Humor, sense of humor, jokes. Understand the irony. there's irony in here. It was supposed to be funny that Stolas doesn't need protection, because that's when you realize, oh, just how horny this guy is. That he made up this whole excuse that Octavia wasn't even buying from the beginning. She was like, security for a theme park? Nobody for a second even bought into his excuse that he made up. It was just so transparent.
taking Octavia to Lululand was supposed to be for her, to cheer her up. Yet Stolas, of course, takes the opportunity to be selfish and flirt with Blitz the entire time, knowing fully well that's the reason Stella was even screaming at him in the first place. And that was why Octavia was so upset.
And? Oh, and you're just gonna skip. You're gonna skip the part where that gets addressed in the episode and he learns his lesson. So you present like all the mistakes that he made, but you don't present him growing and learning from those mistakes. You just move on to Harvest Moon Festival. I see what this is. This is a hit piece. This is you attacking my bird man, and I'm not okay with it. You need to be fair to my precious, darling demon prince. You can't, don't attack him. Yeah, I mean, you can criticize him, but don't attack him. It's not fair.
Literally less than a minute into this episode, we can see Blitz clearly isn't 100% comfortable with Stolas.
And it isn't supposed to be lent out to itty-bitty imps like yourself.
Oh.
He refers to him as an itty-bitty imp in this episode, and as an impish little plaything in the next episode. The sexualization is just disgusting. Stolas, just like Angel...
It's disgusting! I mean, come on. Like, it's not the big deal that this person is making it out to be. It's not like, Stolas is victimizing Blitz here. Blitz is getting something out of this arrangement too. And not just the book. He also gets, like, he enjoys these full moon meetups. Yes, there are things about Stolas that annoy him, but we're not seeing a consistent pattern of him feeling abused and exploited by Stolas. That's not the picture that we are getting or meant to get from this arrangement.
Angel Dust from Has Been Hotel doesn't seem to care about violating people's boundaries, as long as they're comfortable, of course. Also, notice the way Stolas talks to Blitz. He talks to Blitz like Blitz is lesser than him. So they continue talking.
Okay. Was it a socialist vision? Is it coincidence that fascism always presents itself as kind of socialist, then do the opposite when in power? Why is this if it's not because it exists to preserve capitalism? Well, disgusting. Well, yeah, I would consider it a socialist vision from one point of view. He was in the Labor Party before becoming a fascist, and there was a reason he was in the Labor Party. It's not because he was trying to preserve capitalism at all costs, and he just created this, he just joined the socialists as a ruse in order to, like, infect them with his pro-capitalist agenda. No, it's because he actually believed that government planning can be good for the economy, and that it can benefit the average British citizen, and that with the aid of their vast empire, they could create a new kind of closed economic system that could benefit everyone, not just Britons, but also people in the various colonies. He had a whole plan worked out, and there was a lot of theory to it. There was a lot of math to it. Like, he had a real vision when it came to the economy that wasn't just about trying to sell some bourgeois politics to people who would otherwise not have anything to rally behind in preserving the status quo. Really, I mean, that's when I think about there being a lot more to fascism than capitalism. I think about that stuff. I think about that in terms of the practical economic vision, and I also think about the more philosophical values of fascism, with its approach to happiness and whatnot.
Talking, and Stolas invites Blitz to the Harvest Moon Festival. And the first thing that Blitz says is,
If you promise this isn't some fuckfest invite, it does sound like it could be a blast and a half. Plus, it's not like we can do jack shit without your book anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry your clients will have to wait.
Oh, fuck my client.
Also, listen to the way Stolas talks to him, like Blitz is a baby or something. It's gross. Like, why? Like, people talk this way. It's cringy, but people talk this way to people they love. And a lot of the time it's reciprocated. This is not just some, like, just because you don't happen to like this, just because this makes you cringe, doesn't mean that this is, like, some moral failing on his part. And look at how Blitz reacts to that. He doesn't react like, he did something gross and I'm fucking offended. No, he's like, fuck my clients. Like, he's playing into it. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Like, he has a thick skin. This doesn't bother him.
Blitz is so used to Stolas' personality by now.
Let's see, Carl 2 says, the relationship between fascism and capitalism is context-dependent, varying significantly based on specific national contexts. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a complex relationship between fascism and capitalism, and between fascism and socialism. And if you only focus on one thing and ignore everything else, you know, it's that tick history thing, that very selective reading, where you don't look at the whole picture combined and all the nuances and complexities in it, and you just kind of reduce it in a way that doesn't really accurately portray what we're talking about. I'm just saying. I mean, I honestly, I think you have a good point in some respects with fascism's relationship to capitalism, and I think the Marxists have a good point. And I even brought that up in my video. I even said, you know, a lot of the misconceptions around fascism come from the popular Marxist interpretation of it. And I even said that in that video that, like, they had a good point. I just don't agree with their reductionism.
So it's only natural for him to assume that Stolas wanted to take him somewhere for them to have sex. This shows more evidence that Blitz doesn't think that Stolas has genuine feelings for him and only wants him for sex, which is a very rational thing to think. And then...
Yeah, it's a pretty rational thing for him to think. I don't think anyone's denying that, though. I don't think anyone... Well, maybe some people do, but I think most of us don't blame Blitz in this part of the interaction, and don't necessarily even blame him for the way the Aussies thing turned out, even if maybe he went he got a little bit too upset. But you know, it's like, how could he not, because that was such a bad night for him. It's understandable that he would be upset about that.
When they get there and Stolas comes out and gives his little speech and whatever, he makes it his mission to embarrass Blitz.
Good luck to you all, especially that sexy little one there. Yoo-hoo, Blitzy.
Oh, fuck me.
And my darling Blitzy.
Just say my name right, fucking dick.
I love that line. Just say my name right, you fucking dick. No, but it's hilarious, and it's just, yeah, it's more just Stolas being an idiot in love, and that's cute.
Again, let's pretend Blitz was a girl. If this was a man calling a woman sexy on stage, nobody would be saying, "Oh my God, Stolas, oh my God."
I'm going to be real with you. I'm going to tell you why that is. And this is going to involve me being a little bit politically incorrect, but I'm just going to say it like bitches be crazy. That's why that's the way it is. Because the thing is, right? I think we have this whole we have this culture, and it's not the women's fault for this. It's just how this culture is, where like women are like infantilized, and like any kind of like men expressing attraction to women is considered perverted and like gross and disgusting. Like the male sex drive is just like criminalized in our PC culture in a way that like is pretty prudish when you think about it. And it's you know, there are some ways in which it makes sense to like you know, hold people a little bit accountable for like how they're making other people uncomfortable. That's fine. But like just the general kind of societal like hypocrisy about gender, and how you know, you're allowed to say certain things about men but not about women. It's not it's not that we all need to be really prudish to each other all the time, and that's the answer to our social inequality. I think it's kind of the opposite. I think we all need to maybe lighten up a little bit and stop being so prudish. And obviously be aware when we're making other people uncomfortable, and on a person-by-person, case-by-case basis, deal with things appropriately, be appropriate with other people. And obviously Stolas was not doing that because he's an idiot. But I don't think that this is some big deal that you're making it out to be. I think a lot of it is just like, bitches be crazy. They want you to be attracted to them, and then they want you to not be attracted to them. They can never fucking make up their minds. And of course, that's a very silly, very simplistic way of phrasing it. But that's kind of how it feels a lot of the time, and that's kind of how a lot of men feel about it. Anyway. Example, phalangism was not oriented totally towards preserving capitalism. It was much more concerned with Catholic social values. I think we're talking past each other. Individual people can think whatever, but it doesn't mean it's going to have any expression. I'm talking about fascism as an historical material phenomenon. The reason why it grew, had means, funds, exposure, etc., is because it was to the benefit of the ruling class. I don't care what this guy or that guy thought. The reason it exists as a real phenomenon is this. No. I mean, the reason maybe it had the kind of funding it had is because of that, but that's not the whole reason why it exists. Like, you can't boil down the whole social phenomenon of fascism to just how it benefited the wealthy. Because ideology is not historically materially determined. Ideology, a lot of it is spontaneous, and a lot of it comes out of actually people originating thought, which is something that I don't know why this is not just common sense to a lot of historical materialists, but like, ideology doesn't just come out of material conditions. It comes out of material conditions and other stuff. You know, like people having original ideas and having their own dispositions and their own personal motivations and whatnot. I don't think we're talking past each other much. I think I pretty much understand what you're trying to say.
No, you guys would not be saying that. You would be like, oh wow, Stolas is so creepy, that's so gross. Like, oh my god, I'm sorry. It just pisses me off how fucking hypocritical this fandom is. I can guarantee you right now, if Blitz was a...
Oh yeah, I mean, fandoms are always going to be stupid and hypocritical, so I'll agree with that.
...girl and this was not a gay relationship, then people would have a problem. They would be like...
They probably would have a problem, but it doesn't personally change anything for me.
Like, wow, why is Stolas objectifying Blitz like that? That's so gross. But because they're gay.
Yeah, and I've talked about how I don't agree with the premise that sexual objectification is wrong. So I don't even agree with that. There's actually there's a lot of ways in which I haven't changed from the old 2016 anti-SJW me. Like, I'm pretty much the same as I was back then. Like, the reasons I was interested in that community in the past, I still think those same opinions pretty much.
People don't care, which really fucking pisses me off. I'm gonna go more in depth on this later, but anyway, moving on. Also, notice how Blitz is, like, clearly bothered by this. He's like, just say my name right. Like, he actually gets annoyed. And again, you expect me to believe that...
Yeah, he gets annoyed, but he doesn't get, like, traumatized. And so when you're trying to make a big deal out of it, like, oh, how horribly inappropriate this is. It's like, yeah, it's inappropriate and it's stupid. But it's more just him committing a social faux pas. It's not him being a gross, disgusting pervert or whatever.
That Stolas cares about Blitz when he actively disrespects him and makes it his mission to embarrass Blitz in front of everybody. and doesn't respect his wishes. Like, seriously, like, if they were in a relationship and this was like teasing, I suppose, I guess it would be fine. But it's like, because they're not dating, it's just weird. And Blitz clearly isn't okay with it. It's not a mutual thing.
Because they're not dating, it's weird. Well, I think that part of the idea here is that Stolas hasn't, again, he's living that comfortable lie. He kind of has a misunderstanding of what their relationship is.
Even later, when Blitz is...
Because he's never been in a relationship like this before. He's never actually been in love with anyone other than Blitz.
Confronting Stryker, Blitz expresses his obvious distaste for Stolas flirting with him in a public place. And even Stryker is able to notice that Stolas treats Blitz like an object. And we can see Blitz start to almost side with Stryker, looking at his facial expressions. It's clear to everyone else the way Stolas is treating Blitz, yet nobody is speaking up about it. Everybody always wants to dog on Blitz for his mistakes, which, yeah, he needs to be held accountable, but literally nobody is calling out Stolas other than his own dog.
No, people are calling him out. I mean, you're one of them. I've seen a bunch of people call him out all the time. And generally, I think they're whining. Like, generally, like, most of the people who are anti-Stolas or think that Stolas is the big one at fault in the full moon debacle, I just think that they don't, they're not being fair in looking at the situation fairly, you know. Like, I think there's a lot of ways you can definitely criticize Stolas. He's definitely not perfect, and he wouldn't be interesting if he were perfect. Well, maybe he'd be a little bit interesting, but, you know, he wouldn't be as interesting as he is if he were perfect. But... It's, yeah, it's just this attitude of, like, because he has flaws, because he's not perfect, then you have to make this video why I don't like him.
And she isn't even going into depth on it. He needs a fucking call-out, dude. It's not just Blitz doing everything wrong. It's Stolas, too. He's treating Blitz like an object, and it's disgusting.
You know, the two of us are superior than most of our kind. And you were so above sucking on a disgusting, rich, pompous Goetia, only to sneak topside for scraps and work for bitter sinners who could care less who you are, when you could be slaying overlords. Why struggle to run a business that is rigged against you, when you could partner up with me and kill the unkillable, starting with the one that treats you like a plaything?
Yeah, and that was kind of a compelling moment because... that is part of how he feels about Stolas. He has complicated, conflicting feelings about the guy, and it's interesting to see different sides of it come out in different contexts.
This episode, yay. Stolas saves Blitz and his crew from the humans. That's a nice thing to do, right? Yeah, well, what is the first thing Stolas says when he gets into the base?
Who dare threaten my impish little plaything?
Once again, embarrassing Blitz and infantilizing him and referring to him as just an impish little plaything that's degrading as hell. Why would... Why? It's
because that's how he shows affection. And I think Stolas likes when Blitz gets mad at him. I think Stolas kind of likes the sort of the teasing aspect of it. He thinks it's fun. And he's maybe not aware of just how much that impacts the way Blitz views him.
Why would you talk about someone like that? Someone you claim to care so much about. And again, sorry to sound so much like a broken...
And Blitz is someone who appears to have a thick skin, like he can handle it. You know. I really think that Stolas just doesn't understand, just doesn't think it's a big deal. And it probably isn't a big deal, but it just adds up over time. Like, if this were the one time he did it, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But it's just that he keeps doing it that makes it an issue.
Record, but how can you blame Blitz for thinking that Stolas only wants him for sex when he says things like that? And then, of course, when Stolas finally saves them, he somehow thinks that that gives him a right to be touchy with Blitz, even though he obviously looks very uncomfortable. Like, Okay. This kind of reminds me of the last episode.
Hold on. We have a reply. That's idealist. Ideology is part of a superstructure tied to the economic base. We can debate the level of determinism, but again, you wouldn't have fascism and feudalism no matter what anyone thought. Can you stop bringing up feudalism? It literally doesn't matter this conversation at all. Feudalism is totally irrelevant to this conversation. Like, you could conceivably have fascism in a feudalist society if somebody with a fascist ideology came into feudalism and wanted to create a bunch of reforms. It's just that wouldn't happen because the historical circumstances wouldn't naturally produce such a thing, at least not in that way. History isn't explained by ideas. Ideas emerge out of material conditions. No, that's not true. I mean, they do emerge out of material conditions, but also material conditions emerge out of ideas as well, and the two feed into each other, and sometimes ideas can originate other ideas. It's not all just strictly down to this materialist view of history. That's just not how things actually work, you know. You can't plug it in like a mathematical equation, like create these material conditions and these ideas will emerge. That's not how life actually works. There's a lot of spontaneity to it. There's a lot of creativity to it. There's a lot of individuality when it comes to the people who emerge in different situations.
Where the two are in the bed and Stolas is touching him and he's like pushing him away and stuff, and Stolas just doesn't fucking get the hint, and it's like really annoying to watch. Then there's this next part which just like, oh my fucking god, like I think you all know what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna play.
Is he gonna play my favorite part? Is he gonna play the part that the Holy Grail moment that gives me life? I think that's what's about to happen.
Am I going to get any thank you for the rescue, Bitsy?
Holy fucking hell, where do I even begin? This is what I was talking about from episode 1. This is the second time Stolas has done something nice for Blitz and expects something in return. Again.
No, it's the first time. But it's not that he's trying to coerce Blitz into giving something in return for rescuing him. If Blitz said no, then Stolas would be like, "Oh, okay." It's not like he's trying to mentally pressure him into this. What he thinks is that they have like this mutual relationship that's totally equal and totally cool between them, and he's just like, so I think I deserve a reward, don't you? Like he's just doing a little bit of banter to lead into the sex that both of them want, by the way. Blitz was totally into this encounter. Is he going to play the rest of this? Is he going to play the rest of this or not? Doesn't look like it. Nope. It looks like he conveniently skips over the part where Blitz is totally into it and stroking his face and is like, all right, but you better keep quiet or I'm bringing out those bear traps. Which, of course, is him asserting his power in the relationship as the Dom, which Stolas loves. And doing it totally willingly and totally enthusiastically. So yeah, a total misrepresentation of what this scene was about.
You don't do something nice for someone and ask for something in return. That defeats the whole purpose of doing something nice. Blitz doesn't owe you sex because you saved his life.
No, he's not saying that Blitz... He's not literally saying that Blitz owes him sex. He's initiating sex because he's horny, and he knows that Blitz is probably horny too. And sure enough, he is. What's wrong with that? I mean, yeah, over time, little things like that can add up and kind of create resentment. But, again, this is before Aussies, so Stolas finds out about that and becomes aware of it pretty soon.
Life. Fucking weirdo. This scene genuinely pissed me off. Honestly, most probably because it reminds me of a personal experience I had, but, like, You have massive fucking balls to be like, well, I saved you, so you should fuck me. Like, what is the fucking correlation? Like, nobody...
This is definitely the sort of person I would not want to fuck. The sort of person who, like, is really, really, touchy about this sort of stuff and is, like, gets offended really easily and calls everything disgusting and perverted. Yeah, I'll stay away from you.
Owes you anything. Like, I'm sorry, I'm done. So this is the finale for season 1, so obviously there's going to be a lot to cover, so strap yourselves in.
Are you asking me on a date, Blitzy?
Yes.
Tom Waits, That Feel? Well, I like Tom Waits, but I don't know which song that is. That Feel. Let me pull it up. I want to know which song you're referencing. Folk ballad. You can throw it out in the rain. You can take it. It's hard to lose that. Leave it at church. Cool. Okay. Let's watch the rest of this. We're on Ozzy's
I
final.
suppose that is what's happening. How fast can you get down to Lust?
I can be ready in 20.
All right, fantastic. See you soon.
I'll see you, Blitzy.
Stolas does seem genuinely happy and honored that Blitz is asking him out, but again, it's so hard for me to believe that Stolas has genuine feelings for Blitz, and Blitz himself doesn't...
Are you kidding me? Now this is where we're going? That Stolas doesn't have genuine... First, it's that Blitz can't be blamed for thinking Stolas doesn't have genuine feelings. Now it's that Stolas actually doesn't have genuine feelings? Okay, this is just going off the deep end. This is a bad criticism.
Believe this, and part of it is because of Blitz's own self-hatred, but hate me for saying this, a lot of the portion of why Blitz doesn't believe Stolas loves him is Stolas' fault, because all he talks about is sex. And I am in no way defending Blitz for using Stolas to get into Ozzy so he could spy on...
Wow, this person really doesn't like sex, does he?
Moxie and Millie. But let's remember, as I said, Blitz doesn't believe that Stolas genuinely loves him, because again, he only talks about his body and how good he is in bed. And since Blitz doesn't believe Stolas actually likes him, Blitz didn't think he was doing anything wrong by not paying attention to Stolas on their quote-unquote date.
You sold your life for a thrust!
This was honestly just sad to me. We can see Stolas was embarrassed to be seen with Blitz, something that Blitz was always insecure about. If you're embarrassed to be seen with someone, do you really love them? Compare this to Asmodeus.
Yeah. Oh my god, this person doesn't understand human feelings. Is this person autistic? I'm starting to think that this person might be autistic. Because, like, the lack of understanding of basic, like, human emotions. You can be embarrassed by your love life not, like, being appropriate for the people around you who are trying to enforce, like, this sort of expectation, the social expectation of what your love life should be. That can embarrass you. That can make you feel like you're in danger of being ostracized or you're being made fun of, while still having genuine feelings for the person you're in love with.
And Fizz. Asmodeus loves Fizz, and he doesn't care who knows it. Same with Moxie.
He does!
Millie
Oh my
loves Moxie
god,
to
this
death.
is so stupid. He of course cares who knows it. That was a huge plot point in the series, that Asmodeus is in the closet about being in love because he doesn't want anyone to know that he's in love. That is, wow, okay. Just straight up misrepresenting, like, a huge plot point in the show, a huge story element, story arc in the show, and just saying that it didn't happen. Of course it happened.
And vice versa. She is always willing to stand up for him and isn't embarrassed by him at all. Even though her parents didn't respect Moxie at first, she still always was not ashamed of him. Yet,
Well, yeah, because it's a totally different situation, and Millie is a totally different character. And she doesn't have She doesn't like the situation is not even remotely comparable.
Stolas is over here hiding his face as if he's embarrassed by Blitz.
Yeah,
I understand the situation, but still, Blitz didn't hide his face, did he?
Oh, you understand the situation? Then why are you criticizing him for this? Blitz didn't hide his face, yeah, because he wasn't the one being put on the spot in that moment. I mean, he kind of was, but you know that had happened earlier. But also, he's just not the kind of character to hide his face because he's not a prince. Like it's just not in his. It's not what his character would do. They have different responses to embarrassment. Blitz's response to embarrassment was to lash out at Stolas at the end of the episode and say this was a mistake and then accuse him of only wanting to fuck him, which is something I'm not even entirely sure that Blitz believed. Maybe he believed it fully. I think it might have only been a partial thing that he believed. But who knows?
It was only
really.
Stolas doing it.
You have whatever ideas alone, your room, how they find a platform in expression in society is determined materially. It's how they find expression as much as whether you'd be in a condition to think them. Yeah, it's both. Like, all I'm doing is saying that there's more to the picture, and you're like, no, let's restrict the picture to just these hard materials. And it's just, no. There's more to it. Let's restrict it all to just being about fascism being the arm for capitalism. No, there's more to it. There's always more to it. When people try to, like, create these very simplistic worldviews, there's always just more to it. There's nuance, there's more details, there's a lot that goes into the reality we live in, Guy.
Thank you for inviting me out tonight. Despite everything that's happened, I enjoyed spending time with you.
Yeah.
You know, I have some more wine in the house. Octavia's with her mother this weekend, so we could...
I'm not fucking you tonight, okay? I'm really not in the mood, Stolas.
We could talk, or watch a movie, or maybe cuddle.
Stolas, don't act like what we have is anything but you wanting me to fuck you, okay? You make that really clear all the time. But I can't do it tonight, okay?
Makes me sad that Blitz believes he needs to apologize for not wanting to have sex with Stolas. Why, like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with just being like, hey, sorry, I know you kind of want to have sex with me, but I don't. Like, what's wrong? It's not like, I mean, maybe, but, like, saying I'm sorry doesn't necessarily mean that you think you did something wrong. It can also just be sorry that you're not getting what you want because I don't want to do it with you tonight. Again, it's just like the lack of understanding of human emotion, I think.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is the only time in season 1 that Stolas genuinely expresses that he had a good time with Blitz. Every other time, it's talking about how good Blitz is at sex. Even as Stolas says that, Blitz rolls his eyes. He's not buying it, because he's so used to Stolas only complimenting him on his body and how good he is in bed. Blitz flat out tells Stolas that he believes he only wants him for sex. And you really can't blame him for thinking that. And he's obviously very upset and insecure about that fact. But then, then, in the very next episode, not counting the circus because that was a flashback, do you want to know what Stolas says?
Oh shit.
I mean, part of Circus was a flashback. Part of it was a continuation.
I can't do this. No, not again. I haven't performed since...
Blitz, if your performance on stage is half as good as it is in bed, you'll leave them breathless. Now hurry up and wow them so we can get back to finding Via. Break a leg, darling!
What the actual fuck? After Blitz was clearly insecure and felt like you only kept him around for sex, that's what you say? Like, really? I know this episode is in season 2, which is why I'm not going into further detail.
I mean, Okay. Okay, let me think about this. Because it is kind of, because this is after Aussies, it does make you think a little bit like, shouldn't Stolas be a little bit more aware about, bringing up the sex stuff all the time? That maybe that's not a good way to, keep this relationship moving forward. And that's fair enough. Fair enough, I guess, tactical criticism of Stolas. But I think that he was trying to encourage Blitz to do something that he wasn't comfortable doing, but for some reason they felt like they needed to do it. It's a very weird episode. It's actually kind of one of my least favorite episodes of the show. Probably the second least favorite of season 2, besides Unhappy Campers, which is just an abhorrent waste of an episode. But like this whole plot of them going to this sitcom set never made any sense. Like, why are they even doing this? Just leave. It was really stupid. And so Stolas, like, encouraging him to act as if this is even something they should be wasting their time with in the first place is weird already. So, like, yeah, I mean, I guess, sure, yeah, Stolas was probably wrong for bringing up the sex yet again in this scene, but this whole scene is wrong. Yeah, this whole scene doesn't make any sense, and a lot of this episode is just kind of like that.
On it, I just thought it was definitely worth mentioning. Stolas makes the same mistakes. Why did he think it would be a good idea to bring sex back up, knowing that Blitz thought that sex was all Stolas wanted him for? You're literally just...
But, I mean, he is implying that there are other things that Blitz is good at other than sex. He's like, if your performance on stage is anywhere at all as good as your performance in bed, then I'm sure you'll blow them away. He's just trying to give him a little compliment, and that's like how he knows how he's used to complimenting him. By the way, this whole adventure between them is not, like, they don't really have time to get into their personal stuff together. This is really just about finding Octavia and finding the grimoire. It's really, they're teamed up together for a very practical reason to accomplish a certain goal. It's not like they're hanging out together in this episode. So, like, I think we can cut him a little bit of slack for, maybe, resorting to what he knows works on Blitz rather than, trying something new to maybe go a step in the right direction with their relationship. Because, I mean, don't forget, this episode started out with Blitz just, like, absent-mindedly letting Octavia steal the grimoire, which made Stolas mad, and he came in as his demonic owl form. It wasn't exactly the time and the place to be, like, having a real conversation and communication with each other anyway. They were both kind of raw from the Aussies incident.
Just fucking proving his point. Especially at a time like this where Blitz is having a fucking panic attack. You think it's the best time to bring up how good he is in bed? Like, really? Like, why? Like,
hey man, if it gives him a little bit of confidence, and it probably would, because, Blitz, I know this is hard to believe, but Blitz actually enjoys sex. Wow. What a strange thought. This character who's always talking about sex and fucking and using a lot of crude language all the time, he actually likes it.
Like, why? I can't wrap my...
Okay, we got a new comment. Sure, there's more to it. Just saying it's why it exists at all as an historical phenomenon. It's like trying to detach medieval religious thinking from feudalism. There's more to it, but it's why it existed. Yeah, but it's not the only reason why it exists. You can't just boil it all down to capitalism. So
my head around that. Like, are you...
That's the only point I'm making, is that you can't just simplify it in that way. So at this point I don't really understand why you would have any issue with what I'm saying. Because I'm not saying that your perspective is wrong. I'm just saying it's incomplete, and it's a simplification of a broader and bigger topic.
I am so fucking tired. And we still have one more section to cover. This one's a little bonus.
Personal bias?
I can definitely admit that part of my distaste for Stolas is very, very personal. I had 2 exes that were a lot like him. They both only talked about intimacy, even though I showed obvious signs.
Yep. It's always something like this with these people. They always had an ex who is like this, and then they're reminded of that ex. Okay. Yeah, I see what this is. It's just like trauma. It's just this person's trauma being triggered by Stolas, and so he's not being fair to Stolas because Stolas like personally upsets him. Yeah. So it looks like a lot of people agree with this person, which is unfortunate because this person is just wrong. This person, okay, I happen to be a simp for Stolas, but even if I weren't, I would still think just from a purely rhetorical perspective that this person is wrong.